the forgotten warrior. The war was over, but the battlefield still smelled like smoke and blood. Bodies lay silent, machines burned, and the wind carried the sound of pain. In the middle of the field, half covered in ash, an alien warrior lay still. Her name was Jera. She had once been a hero of her people. Her name was known on many planets, but now she could not move. Her legs were broken, and her armor was cracked open. She was paralyzed. Ships flew above her, but none stopped. Soldiers passed her body, but none helped. Her own kind looked at her and kept walking. To them, she was already dead. A warrior who could not fight was useless. That was their law. Jera tried to call out. Her voice was low. Her hand twitched, but no one saw. She felt pain in her chest, not just from the injury, but from something deeper. Betrayal. She had given everything for her people. Now they left her behind like trash. Then, after a long silence, footsteps came closer. Slow, heavy, careful. Jera expected another soldier to ignore her, but the footsteps stopped beside her. A human stood there. He was dirty, tired, and carried a large bag on his back. He had a scar over one eye and his left arm was bleeding. He looked down at her without fear or disgust. Their eyes met. Jera blinked. She waited for him to walk away too. But he didn't. He knelt beside her. "Can you hear me?" he asked softly. Jera gave the smallest nod. He looked around. "You're hurt. Bad. I need to get you out of here." She tried to speak. Why? Help me?" He didn't answer right away. He gently touched her shoulder. "Because no one else will." In the distance, voices shouted. Other human soldiers were calling him on the radio. "We found a safe path," the voice said. "Forget the alien. Come now before it's too late." He looked at the radio, then back at her. She could see the struggle in his eyes. She whispered, "Go, I am nothing." "No," he said firmly. "You are someone. You're alive." With effort, he placed her arm over his shoulder and lifted her. She cried out in pain, but he held her tighter. "You're not dead yet. I won't leave." "You hear?" He started walking, slowly but with purpose. Every step was hard. She was heavier than she looked, and his own wounds made it worse. Still, he didn't stop. Jera's mind spun. This made no sense. Her own people had left her. But this human, her enemy, was saving her. "Who are you?" she asked weakly. "My name is Mason," he replied. "Just a soldier like you." She looked at his face. He had no reason to do this. No order, no gain, and yet he carried her like she mattered. As they moved through the field, more radio calls came. "You're risking everything for a broken alien?" someone shouted in his ear. "You'll never make it." He said nothing, just kept moving. Jera could feel the strength in him, not just in his body, but in his will. She had always believed humans were selfish, cold, and weak. Now she was not sure. She felt small tears form in her eyes, but they dried before falling. They passed smoke and metal ruins and silence. No help came, no one cheered. It was just the two of them. One paralyzed, one bleeding, both unwanted. Mason found a broken wall and sat down behind it. He gently set her down and gave her water. "You saved me," she whispered. He looked at her and smiled a little. "Not yet, but I will." Jera didn't know what would happen next. She was still broken, still weak. But something inside her had changed. For the first time since the fall, she felt seen. She looked at Mason. He had no armor left, no orders and no reason to stay. But he did, and that gave her something more powerful than medicine. Hope. The human didn't know her name. He didn't know her past. But he saw her now. Not as a failure, not as an enemy, but as someone who still mattered. Jera closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you." Mason looked at the sky. More trouble was coming, but he wasn't afraid. Not anymore, because he wasn't just carrying a broken alien, he was carrying a reason to fight, and he would not stop, not until she was safe, not until someone cared. Enemy territory. The sky turned darker as they moved. Smoke clouds still floated above the broken ground. Mason walked with slow steps, carrying the alien warrior Zera on his back. Each step made his body hurt more, but he didn't stop. Her blood had dried. His shirt was torn. The air was hot and full of dust. But still he walked. Zera didn't speak much. Her voice was weak. Her body didn't move. But her eyes stayed open. She watched the human carefully. Every move he made, every breath he took, he had a choice. He could have left her, but he didn't. "Where are we going?" she asked softly. Mason looked over his shoulder. Away from death. It wasn't a joke. They were deep in enemy land. Enemy drones flew above them. War machines still roamed the hills. If anyone saw them, they'd shoot first. Zera knew the rules. She had followed them all her life. A paralyzed warrior had no value. An enemy had no mercy. Yet this human soldier carried her like she was treasure. She whispered, "Why?" Mason stopped under a large piece of fallen metal. It gave a little shade. He gently lowered her to the ground and gave her water. "Why what?" he asked. "Why? Help me?" she said again. He wiped sweat from his brow. "I don't know," he admitted. "I just couldn't leave you there. You looked like you wanted to live." Her lips twitched. "Was that a smile?" "I did," she said. "I still do." Mason nodded. "Then we keep moving." He picked her up again, but before he could take a step, a red light flashed nearby. A drone. Zera's eyes widened. "They found us." Mason dropped low, hiding behind broken armor plates. He covered Zera with his body. The drone scanned the area. A soft beeping noise came closer and closer. Zera felt her heart pound. She couldn't run. She couldn't fight. She was helpless. But Mason was calm. He slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a black disc, EMP. He pressed the button. A small pulse flashed. The drone made a strange sound, and then dropped from the sky. Dead. Zera stared at him in silence. "That was close." "Too close," Mason said. They stayed still, for a few minutes, listening. No more sounds, no more machines. He picked her up again. "We need to find shelter before dark." Zera leaned her head against his back. Her voice was quiet. "You're different, human." "Good different or bad different?" he asked with a tired laugh. "Just different," she said. As the sun dropped behind the mountains, they found a trench left from an old blast. Mason jumped in, landing softly with Zera in his arms. For a moment, there was peace. Zera looked at him. "You know your own army will punish you for this." "I know," Mason replied. "You'll be called a traitor. I've been called worse." Zera sighed. "And what if I turn on you later?" He didn't answer right away. He sat beside her and opened a pack of dried food. "I trust you," he said finally. She looked away. "Then you're a fool." "Maybe," he said. "But I'd rather be a fool who saves someone than a hero who walks away." Zera didn't know what to say. She had seen war. She had seen betrayal. She had seen blood, pain, and fire. But this was new. A human who risked everything for someone broken. Someone not even from his own kind. Zera's fingers twitched slightly. A small movement. Not much. But enough to make her blink in surprise. She didn't tell Mason. Not yet. Instead, she asked, "Do you think we'll make it?" He looked at the stars starting to appear in the sky. "I think we'll try. That's all we can do." Zera closed her eyes. Her body still didn't listen. But her heart was waking up. And in that moment, she made a silent promise. If she ever stood again, she would fight for him, just like he fought for her. A body that won't move. Jera screamed, but no sound came out. In her mind, she was standing, shouting, swinging a blade. But her body didn't move, not even her toes. Only silence answered her cries. She opened her eyes again. The stars were still above, and Mason was sleeping nearby, curled up with one arm over his chest, where he had been shot days ago. His face looked calm, but his body was shaking. He was cold, hungry, and still he had not left her. She looked at her own hands. She tried to lift them. Nothing. Only her fingers moved a little. Was this her life now? Jera, the great warrior, now broken beyond use? She felt something deep inside. Not pain. Not anger. Shame. The wind blew softly across the trench. Mason woke with a cough, rubbed his eyes, and sat up. "You okay?" he asked, his voice low. Jera didn't answer. Her eyes stayed on the dark sky. "I brought some water," he said, moving closer. "And food. Not much left, but enough for you." "Why?" she asked again, voice cold now. Mason paused. "Because I said I would help you." "But I can't move," she said. "I'm just a body. I can't fight. I can't even walk. I'm not worth saving." Mason looked straight into her eyes. "That's not true." She shook her head slightly. "My people left me because I am useless. Dead weight. And they were right." "No," he said, louder, this time. "They were wrong. They're cowards. You're still alive. That's not useless." She turned her face away. "You don't understand." He didn't speak for a while. Then he said, "Let me show you something." He lifted his shirt. There were long scars across his chest and side, ugly ones, deep ones, some still healing. "I was left behind too," he said. "In my first year of war, a mine hit our squad. I couldn't walk. My commander said there was no time. They left me in the dirt." Jera's eyes widened. "But you're still here." "I crawled for 2 days," he said. "Then a civilian found me and pulled me out." He smiled faintly. "She was old, poor, and had no reason to help me. But she did. She believed my life still mattered." He looked at her gently. "And I believe yours does too." Jera stayed silent for a long time, then she whispered, "I hate this feeling." "I know," he said. "I feel small, weak. You're not. I want to move, but my body won't listen." He nodded. "Then I'll be your body until yours wakes up." She looked at him, tears forming. "You say that like it's easy." "It's not," he said with a small smile. "But some things are worth it." Mason then checked her bandages, changed the one on her leg, adjusted the support under her neck. His hands were rough but careful. She could feel the warmth of his touch. Not like a lover. Not like a soldier. Like a friend. Hours passed. Jera lay awake, staring at the sky. Then, a small spark. She felt her right foot twitch. Just once. Very small, but it moved. She gasped softly. Mason looked over. "What is it?" I felt something." He rushed to her side. "Where?" "My foot. It moved." He grinned. "That's good. That means your nerves are coming back." She nodded slowly. "It's not much. It's a start." Jera blinked away a tear. "Do you think I'll walk again?" "I don't know," he said. "But I think you'll fight again, one way or another." She looked down at her hands. "I want to fight. I don't want to be useless." "You're not useless," he said. "You're stronger than you think, and you're not alone." Jera closed her eyes. For the first time in days, she let herself believe. Believe that she could come back. Not the same as before. Maybe never again as a soldier with fast legs and sharp blades, but maybe something even stronger. Someone with heart, and someone who still had a reason to live. Secrets of the past, Jera had not spoken for hours. Not because she was tired, but because the memories had returned, not the battle, the betrayal. She stared at the weak fire Mason had built. Her body still refused to move, but her mind was wide awake, flooded with images of the last day she stood tall. Mason noticed her silence. He handed her a sip of water. "You're quiet." Jera didn't look at him. Her voice was low. "Do you want to know who I was?" Mason raised an eyebrow. "Who you were?" "I was a war leader," she said. "A general. I led the Blade Fangs of Arakar. We never lost until that day." He leaned closer, listening. "We were ambushed," she continued. "I was the last one still fighting. I told them to run. I held the line." She paused. Her jaw tightened. "And when I fell, I waited for help, but no one came. My second in command looked back, saw me crawling. He turned his face and left." Mason's hands clenched into fists. "They left you?" Jera nodded once. "They said later that I slowed them down, that I was already dead, so they left me behind like a broken weapon." Her voice shook. "They didn't even lie about it. They said it with pride." Mason didn't speak. He just looked at her, eyes full of quiet rage. Not at her, but at what had been done to her. She took a breath. "I wasn't supposed to tell anyone this. A warrior does not show pain. But you should know who you're carrying. I'm not some lost soldier. I was someone and now I'm not." Mason finally spoke. "You still are someone. You sound sure?" "I am." She turned her head slowly. "And you? What's your story, human?" He looked into the fire. "I was a mechanic once, not a fighter. I fixed engines, cleaned parts. I didn't even hold a gun until the war started." "What changed?" He laughed, but there was no joy in it. "The war took everything. My city, my brother, my home." She studied his face. There was pain behind his calm voice. She saw it now. "You became a soldier," she said. He nodded. "Not because I wanted to, because there was no choice." For a moment, they sat in silence. Two different lives. Two broken paths, both left behind. Jera's voice was softer now. "Why do you trust me?" Mason looked at her, serious. "Because you're still fighting. Even like this. You haven't given up." She smiled bitterly. "I did give up, but you didn't let me stay there." A gust of wind passed over them. The fire flickered. Then they heard it, a sound in the dark. Jera's eyes narrowed. "Did you hear that?" Mason was already on his feet, knife in hand. They weren't alone. He moved silently, crouched low, listening. Jera could feel her heart beating faster. Mason whispered, "Stay quiet. Someone's watching us." She stayed still. She didn't breathe. Loud. She focused. Then a shadow moved behind the rocks. Mason threw a stone in one direction and ran the other way. He surprised the figure from the side and slammed it to the ground. The person grunted in shock. Mason pressed his knife close. "Who are you?" the figure hissed. "I'm alone. Don't kill me." He looked closer. It was a young scout, alien, but from a neutral tribe, probably looking for scraps or safety. Mason tied his hands and dragged him back to the fire. Jera looked at the boy. "Spy?" The boy shook his head fast. "No, I was just hiding. I saw you two. I didn't tell anyone." Mason checked his gear. No tracker, no weapon. He sighed. "We can't take him with us." Jera studied the boy. He was thin, scared, maybe 17. "Let him go," she said. "He's not a threat." "He saw us," Mason warned. "I know," she said. "But I don't want to be the kind of leader who kills the weak to feel strong." Mason looked at her for a long time. Then he cut the ropes and let the boy run. The fire crackled. "You've changed," Mason said. Jera nodded slowly. Maybe being broken makes you see clearer. She didn't notice her fingers twitch again. This time, both hands. Small signs, but real ones. And in that cold night, for the first time since her fall, she smiled. Not because she was healed, but because she was becoming something new. Hunted, the silence didn't last. It shattered with a sharp sound, a blast too close, too loud. Mason dropped low. Dust flew up. The ground shook. Jera's eyes flew open. What was that? Trouble, Mason said, already moving to check the edge of the trench. He saw them, 3 shadows moving fast. Enemy soldiers. Armed. Searching. They found us, he whispered. He grabbed his knife. His gun had only 1 bullet left. His body was tired, his side still bleeding, but none of that mattered now. He turned to Jera. Stay down. Don't make a sound. I can't run, she said quickly. You have to go. Looked at her eyes sharp. I'm not leaving you. Jera's heart beat fast. She wanted to scream, to fight, to protect him, but she couldn't even lift her arms fast enough. I'll slow you down, she said. You'll die because of me. I'll die fighting for something I believe in, he replied. That's better than running. He moved fast. Set up sharp traps using wire and metal pieces from broken gear. He placed sharp rocks under dirt. Anything to delay them. Jera heard footsteps above them. Close. She felt her body freeze. One soldier stepped into the trench, his helmet turned toward Jera. Her eyes widened. She was completely exposed. But just as the soldier raised his weapon, Mason launched from the shadows. He tackled him to the ground. The knife flashed, blood sprayed, but now the others knew. Run! One enemy shouted. They're here! Mason ducked as shots flew over him. He grabbed the fallen soldier's weapon and fired back. Jera closed her eyes. She couldn't watch. Every sound made her flinch. Her body felt like stone. And then, silence again. She opened her eyes. Mason was back beside her. His arm was bleeding, more. His breathing was heavy. She saw something strange in his eyes now. Not fear. Pain. Real pain. You're hurt, she said. He smiled weakly. Still alive. She saw the blood soaking through his shirt. You can't keep going like this. I have to, he said. You're not safe yet. But now you need saving, she whispered. He shook his head. We save each other, that's how this works. Jera felt a deep ache in her chest, not from fear but from helplessness. She wanted to stand, to fight, to stop being carried like a broken thing. Then something changed. Her left leg twitched. She gasped. Mason noticed. What is it? My leg, she said, her voice shaking. It moved. He leaned close. That's good. That's really good. Jera nodded. But it's too late. You're bleeding too much. Mason sat beside her. Then we rest here. Just a little. His head dropped. His eyes closed for a second too long. Jera panicked. Mason? No answer. She shook her head. No, not now. Wake up. Her voice broke. She tried harder than ever. She clenched her fists. Her hand lifted. Just a little. But it moved. She reached for him. Her fingers touched his face. Mason! She shouted. He groaned, opened his eyes slowly. I'm okay, he whispered. Just tired. She smiled in relief. You scared me. He looked at her hand. You moved. She nodded. I did. His voice was weak. Told you. You're not useless. Then he passed out again. Jera looked at the night sky, then down at him. She was paralyzed, yes, but she could still think, still live, still act. She dragged herself toward his bag using her elbows. Every inch was pain. She opened it, pulled out the last medical patch, placed it on his chest. Then she lay beside him, close, to share warmth. For the first time, she was the one protecting him. And it felt right. She looked at him one last time and whispered, "You saved me, now it's my turn." Strength in the mind she couldn't carry him, but she could think. That was how it began. Jera's body still failed her, but her mind was sharper than ever. As Mason lay beside her, unconscious from blood loss, she stared into the darkness and made a plan. She had been trained to lead armies. Now she would use that same mind to protect the only soldier who had never abandoned her. "Mason," she whispered, brushing dust from his cheek. "You gave me your strength. Now let me give you mine." The night passed slowly. Every sound made her alert. Every small movement in the dark could mean danger. She listened for footsteps, watched the sky for drones, and counted the seconds between winds. When Mason finally opened his eyes at dawn, she was still awake. He tried to sit up, but she stopped him with her hand that now moved with effort but with purpose. "Don't move," she said. "You lost a lot of blood." "You stayed awake?" he asked weakly. She nodded. "I thought for both of us." He smiled even through the pain. "Of course you did." Jera looked at the hills in the distance. "There's a path. A narrow canyon that enemy scouts won't use. It leads to an old supply station." "You saw it?" Mason asked. "No," she said. "I remembered it." He blinked at her. "You know this place?" She gave a short nod. "I fought here once, many years ago. I studied every path before the battle. That canyon was considered too risky, but it's our best chance now." Mason took her hand and squeezed it lightly. "Then let's go." "You'll need to carry me again," she said. "But I'll be your eyes." "Deal," he said. The journey began again, this time slower. Mason's steps were shaky, Jera's directions were clear. "Left rock is loose, step over it. Sharp metal ahead, move around." "Listen, hear that hum? That's a drone station. We go under, not over." They worked together like one being, one body, one mind. Hours passed. The sun rose high, burning the ground. Mason nearly collapsed. Twice, but Jera's words kept him going. "You're almost there. One more step. Don't stop now." He trusted her. She trusted him. There was no fear now, only purpose. They reached the canyon. It was narrow, deep, and full of shadows. But it was empty. No guards. No scouts. Jera smiled. "Told you." Mason chuckled between breaths. "You really are a general?" "Retired," she said, "but not dead." Halfway through the canyon, they found an old outpost. Broken, dusty, but still holding supplies. Mason gently set her down and searched the small building. Food, water, medical packs, even a signal booster. They were alive. Jera sighed deeply. "We made it." Mason sat beside her, eyes half closed. "Thanks to you." "No," she said. "Thanks to both of us." She looked at him seriously. "I once thought strength meant fast hands, sharp weapons, and standing tall. But I was wrong." "What does it mean now?" he asked. "Strength is not giving up. Even when you can't move. Even when you're hunted. Even when you're afraid." He nodded. "Then you're the strongest person I've ever met." Jera turned, her head to him slowly. "You showed me I still matter, that I'm more than my broken body. And you showed me," he said softly, "that I don't have to carry everything alone." They sat in silence for a while. No war, no commands. Just two souls that survived. Then the signal booster beeped. It picked up a friendly ship, far but not too far. Jera looked at the screen. "If we send a flare, they'll find us in 1 hour." Mason nodded. "Then let's send it." But before he pressed the button, he paused. "What if your people come instead of mine?" he asked. Jera didn't blink. "Then I'll protect you. Even if they call you a traitor?" She smiled faintly. "Let them call me what they want. I know who I am now." He pressed the button. A soft light shot into the sky. Far away, someone would see it. Help would come. And when it did, they would come not to rescue a hero or a general. They would come for two broken warriors, who were never truly broken at all. I am not useless. The rescue ship was coming, but not fast enough. Jera could hear it in the distance, a soft hum growing louder with every second. But the sound of engines was not the only sound rising. Behind them, boots, marching, getting closer. Enemy soldiers had followed the signal. Mason stood in front of her, gun in hand, bleeding again. His face was pale. He had no more strength to run, no more traps to set. But still, he stood. Jera watched from the ground, rage boiling inside her chest. He had carried her, fed her, fought for her, and now he was ready to die for her. All while, she lay still, unable to stand. Not today. Her fingers dug into the dirt, her arms pushed against the ground, her legs, weak, shaking, twitched again, then moved. She growled with effort. Pain tore through her body, but she didn't stop. Mason turned around. His eyes widened. Jera. She was rising, slowly, unsteady, like a child walking for the first time, but rising. Jera stood up. Her legs were trembling, but she stood tall. Her voice was sharp. Give me your weapon. Mason stared at her, shocked. You're standing? Not for long, she said, reaching for the gun. So let's make it count. He handed it to her, speechless. Jera stepped forward. Her balance was poor. Her knees bent slightly. But her eyes burned like fire. The first enemy appeared at the canyon mouth. She didn't wait. She fired a clean shot. Straight to the chest. Mason dropped behind cover and reloaded for her. Another soldier came. Jera aimed and fired again. Every shot felt like lifting a mountain. But she kept going. One enemy, two, then three. Her legs shook more with each step. She fell to one knee but didn't stop shooting. She was no longer the broken warrior in the dirt. She was the wall between her friend and death. She was the general once more. And now, she was something even more. Mason knelt beside her, fired beside her. They fought together. One mind, two bodies. When the final enemy fell, Jera collapsed beside him, breathing hard, heart racing, hands shaking. Mason looked at her with awe. You did it? She smiled. We did. He pulled her into a sitting position and held her steady. Help will be here in minutes. Jera looked up at the sky. Good. Then softly she asked, Do you still think I'm someone? Mason laughed, tears in his eyes. You're not just someone. You're a legend. She smiled, closing her eyes for a moment. Then let this legend sleep, just a little. The rescue ship landed not long after. Doctors rushed out. They lifted both of them into the ship. Gentle hands, careful voices, but Jera's voice still whispered as she held Mason's hand. Don't let go. Never, he replied. Later, when she opened her eyes in the medical bay, her legs were wrapped, healing. Mason sat beside her, one hand bandaged, the other holding hers. You're safe now, he said. And you? She asked. He smiled. Better because of you. A soft knock came. Jera turned her head. It was one of her own people, a commander, dressed in silver. He stepped in, eyes wide with shock at seeing her alive. We thought you were lost, he said quietly. You left me, she replied. He lowered his eyes. You were no longer so strong. Jera stared at him. You're wrong. He looked up. What are you now? She held Mason's hand tighter, her voice steady. I am not useless, she pointed to Mason. He believed in me. When all of you turned your backs, the commander said nothing. Jera continued. If I return to my people, it will be as a different warrior. I don't follow old rules anymore. She looked at Mason. "I've found something stronger than war, stronger than honor." The commander asked, "What is that?" Jera's answer was clear: loyalty. And so ends the story of a paralyzed alien warrior left for dead, and the human who refused to leave her behind. They both were broken, but together, they stood taller than anyone else.